So, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yeah, I can hear you. All good.
I can hear you too. This is great. Right, we'll start again and now. So, Atomica, welcome to the disgrace that is RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. This is episode 4. Before we get into it, you're obviously not in Ireland. So, for anyone who wants to know, where are you based and who is Atomica.Athame?
I am Atomica from Darlington in England, near Newcastle, the same place as Cherry Valentine
I
from
was gonna
Drag
say
Race UK
yes,
Season
yeah.
2. Atomica is a queen who's very inspired by science. She has a science degree. She's inspired by the very powerful women in the science industry who are underappreciated, and she kind of wants to bring attention to that.
Very, very stunning. So following on from that, then there's no mini challenge in this episode. What there is before RuPaul comes down is basically an argument between Electra, Scarlett, and etc. etc. So the two girls are coming after Electra for telling her drag is basic and all this X, Y, Z. And Electra's trying to argue back, which I really appreciate because I think it's important to be able to stand up for yourself. Did you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really good of her to stand up for herself because you should never let anyone walk over you. You
No.
might agree with what they're saying. You don't have to. Drag is drag. It's art. Art is whatever you make of it.
Yeah, dead right. So basically then RuPaul comes down and brings out this like massive load of shite on a cart. And if we all know it's going to be the design challenge using unconventional materials, but out of nowhere, a queen jumps back up and it happens to be Art Simone. When that happened, I was kind of asking myself, why? I personally think that what's the point in having a competition if you can bring anyone back? And clearly, Art Simone was brought back because she's like a big star, but they wanted her in the show. But like, what do you think of bringing Art Simone back due to her being a massive household name in Australia?
I mean, I think the biggest issue with it is it's really unfair on JoJo and Coco who do not get that chance. Maybe
Yeah,
if they had to compete for the right to come back, I'd be because like I do love Art Simone. I think she's incredible, but I think she should have at least had to earn the spot back rather than just getting the spot because they automatically think you should have it.
yeah. Like if they fully believe that Art Simone had the talent and the abilities to belong in the competition, I don't see how they couldn't have brought back the first three and had them compete in the challenge, and then whoever wins that basically comes back. Um, so I didn't agree. But basically, following on from that, then they have to use unconventional materials to make an outfit. And then as they're preparing the outfits, there's this narrative being concocted of Karen versus Art and Electra versus Scarlett. Now, the logic given for Karen versus Art is apparently Karen felt like Art was her biggest competition. And when she was gone, Karen felt like she kind of ran the show. And then Art was back, Karen sort of struggled. That was the narrative being sown. And then obviously it's Electra versus Scarlett because Scarlett feels a certain way from winning the previous week, and Electra feels a certain way because she thought she did well and then lost, which I can agree with. But that's basically then just the main drama until we get to the walk around with Rue, where Rue asks Scarlett, what advice would you give to Electra? And she says, there's a lot more to performing than just doing the splits. Thoughts?
So I fully agree with the statement of there's a lot more to performing than just doing the splits. We've seen many queens who can't do the splits who perform really well. I think doing them is an incredible talent. It takes a lot of practice and determination to be able to do it. Or you might be naturally able to do it. I'm not sure in Electra's case where that comes from. She
Yeah.
is a really good dancer, but I think she just needs to show more versatility in her performance, and that's kind of what Scarlett's getting at. And I kind of agree with that because being versatile is the best thing you can. You kind of want to be a jack of all trades, master of some.
Considering there's a gay culture phenomenon of first being the one to go for, I can agree. So after that, then RuPaul basically just is like, go on ahead, belt to head, tells Electra to like calm down and like just focus on getting the basics right. And then the other aspect of the episode before the main runway was trauma. I love trauma. I love talking about trauma. And the main trauma of this episode is etc. etc. speaking on their experience as being non-binary. and they talk about how when they're not in drag, because of how gender fluid they present, people ask them, oh, how come you're in drag, or how come we never see you out of drag, which I think is a vital conversation to have. What do you think of that representation of someone who is non-binary on Drag Race, and what impact does that have on drag?
I really appreciated the non-binary representation. I mean, I've been in love with Etc. since she walked in, especially knowing she's non-binary because I'm a non-binary queen as well. So I kind of really relate to her scenario, especially when like out of drag, I can kind of relate to what people are like, I kind of get confused. And it's like, I don't really understand what's so confusing about it. Like I'm telling you.
Yeah,
But some people just don't understand. And I mean, I think especially like in relation to myself, where like I do look quite masculine out of drag and stuff like that. And I mean, to be fair, I'm not that feminine in drag anyway. But I feel like there's more to your identity than these kind of binaries that are set. And like I don't think drag exclusively has to be feminine. And so I think Etc. is a very good example of that. And the way she spoke about it was really, really good and really relatable.
very true. And even with you being non-binary, we also have many non-binary friends, especially on Twitch. So I think it's a very apt time to have it, because we also had Ginny Lemon on UK Drag Race, and Got Mick being the first not trans person to compete, because people have been trans, but I think the first openly trans person to have competed on Drag Race, and that was known to RuPaul and the production team prior to filming. But I think we're starting to see gender not being a barrier to performing in drag at the moment, which I think is lovely. So following Trauma, main stage, RuPaul comes out in this kind of 70s inspired peplum dress, very disco, with like detached bell bottoms in the Irish colours, but mainly silver. Did you live or did you not live?
I fully lived. I definitely stand by this is one of the best things she's worn on the runway.
Yeah, specifically for Down Under Drag Race, because I personally love her in the UK Drag Race because she always has her legs out. This is the first
She
time
has really nice legs.
yeah, it's the first time we've seen her legs out in this season, and I thought this was stunning. I'd even go as far as say this would be my top 10 looks from RuPaul ever.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
It was inspired personally, I think.
And she wore green, Michelle's favorite color, and
Of
she
course,
owned it.
of course. So then we know the main stage is making trash out of treasure, basically. So first out is Art Simone in this pink Marie Antoinette look with the short dress and a pink house in the hair. I like this. It was very bare bones of Marie Antoinette. I think the house made it extravagant, but I don't think it was anything spectacular, but I appreciate the effort.
I really, really like this look actually. I think what she did with her makeup was really good. I think she looks so nice. I mean, I personally am a really big fan of really short dresses. I think it's just something I really gravitate towards. I also really love the really cute bows as well, and I think it really brings the fantasy in.
Yeah,
And the hair also helps. And I think using this really bright pink as well is kind of also not taking it too seriously. It makes it really camp, and I kind of really like that.
yeah.
The one thing I'll say is I wish she had more going on with like her legs and her shoes. Like maybe just putting some little bows on her shoes, I think might have been a little nicer, although I don't know, maybe I'm crazy.
Like I wish you almost would have got like a bolt or two of material and made some sort of train at the back. So even if the front was bare, it would add dimension to the bottom half. I just thought out to the side was nice, but it was almost like the outfit stopped where the hem ended for me. And
Yeah, I can see that. Or maybe if she makes like the skirt bit like bigger and it kind of comes out, so you still have this short pink dress underneath, but you also have this like kind of external fantasy of what would be more realistic of that time period as
yeah,
well, and it'd be kind of really fashionable, I think.
it would have
Although
been
it would be very reminiscent of the Frock Destroyers in their music video.
very. So following Art Simone is Killamine in this sleeping bag skater kind of dress, and had like plastic balls attached to it. And it was very 50s, 60s flair, and had like that umbrella hat, and the wig was actually the plastic balls. Now, when this walked out, I really liked it, but then looking back at it, In Untucked, I didn't like it as much. But what did you make of it?
So I am kind of in a very similar position to you where I quite liked it when it first came out. It definitely wasn't one of my favorites. It was kind of like my opinion of it went down as I looked at it more. But the biggest thing I kind of dislike is the kind of ball bra she made. I think it's a little bit clunky because you can see some of the parts where she's cut into the balls and stuff. And I
Yeah,
think you could have cleaned that up a little bit. But I mean, there is like a time frame, and if these balls might have already been damaged when she got them, for all we know. But
yeah,
I did really like the skirt she made, though. I think the skirt is really, really cute.
it was. It was just looking back at it through the lens of then looking at everyone else. I think it was in her favor that she came out second rather than say last. And
Yeah, definitely. Early is better than later for this kind of thing.
yeah, it wasn't great. And following Kita was etc. etc. In this 20s sheer dress goddess moment, they said, and it was kind of lilac-y. This got a lot of hate. I thought this was probably one of the best, if not the best outfit on the runway.
For me, I think this was a safe look, in my opinion. Like, I don't think it's kind of on the same level as arts or some people to come later's, but I definitely don't think it was deserving of that bottom three placement. I think it's kind of hard to grasp the kind of goddess storyline she was going with. I can kind of see it, but that's from external knowledge rather than just from the outfit itself. I don't think the outfit itself fully conveys what she was going for
Yeah.
because I kind of more get a kind of like a lavender fairy sort of vibe from it rather than earth goddess.
Yeah. But even regardless, I thought it was still well constructed because it's
Yeah,
hard to know
definitely.
what the judges want from these challenges. Like, do they want a finished, well tailored garment, or do they want something couture that tells a story without needing to be actually told what the story is? I think the goalposts are always moving with what they want from a challenge. And especially with the season, it's very confusing. And after etc., we have Maxi in reconstructed drag bags, which are basically like IKEA bags, what we know them as. It was a two-piece moment, almost like a CEO, which a clutch she made, which was never mentioned, but I did notice the clutch. And it was in a blue, white, and red. Did I like it? Yes. Did I understand why the judges loved it so much? No.
I actually really, really love this. I think especially for Maxi, where she's kind of been her runways have been a little bit shaky this season so far, I think. But I actually really like this, and I can kind of respect the material because, especially as like a bigger girl, using something like this, which has no flexibility at all, I think that takes actually quite some skill. Should kind
Yeah.
of break the sewing machine, but you know, it happens. The
I
clutch is really cute. I love the style. I kind of wish her eyebrows were a bit different. They're a little bit thin. I think they should have been a little bit bigger, in my opinion. However, I really, really love the kind of punky look. I mean, I think having the tattoos already really helps us because if she didn't have them, then it definitely wouldn't look as good.
Yeah, I think that Maxi is fast becoming the dark horse because if you like think back, I don't think she's been unsafe. Even if she's been close to the bottom, I think she's always been strong enough to stay out of the bottom. Um, like she has comedy, she has a sense of direction and style. So I think she might be a dark horse in the competition, and I think we might start seeing like a good redemption for Maxi.
Yeah, I agree. I can see her doing kind of better than what people expect.
Yeah. After Maxi was Karen from finance, who came out, I think it was Champagne or Champel Corby, who basically got stung trying to transport weed into Bali. And she spun the story. This is what happened if they had gotten into Bali. It was very traveler outfit. It was a drug rug skirt, and she basically looked like a middle-aged woman. So while I do appreciate the comedy of it, this wasn't great.
I think this was my least favorite look of this runway, to be honest, because I think she's trying to rely on a character when this is a design challenge. Like you need to have the design carry you.
Yeah.
And I just think there isn't much of a design to this because it's a very basic skirt with a tank top and a flower necklace and a giant joint.
Like you can't fault her for relying on the crutch of comedy if she wasn't that secure in her sewing skills. But in the realm of Drag Race, it was unfortunately probably the worst we've seen on the runway. And then following Karen was Electra, in the best she's looked personally so far on the runway. It was this like tie gown, so it was ties the whole way down, and red, big blown out hair, and even the way it flowed was lovely, the way she moved was lovely. Was it simple? Yes. Was it effective? Very much so.
I love this. I agree when in Untucked, Scarlett says that this was one of the I am very sorry about that. Scarlett says that this was one like her second favorite look of the night, and I can definitely agree. I think this should have been high, to be honest. I mean, she did get praised for it, which I appreciated because she definitely deserved the praise. Because I think she looks so good. I think her hair looks really nice, and I can really appreciate that, especially considering like her entrance. That was
Yeah,
something.
that was
But
traumatic.
I really like this hair on her, and I really like what she's done with her face. I think it's very cohesive. And I think the mismatched colors of the ties is really effective here as well, because it really kind of screams like trash to treasure, because it still looks trash, but in a really great way.
Yeah, like also at the same time, this shows that in these sort of challenges, you don't have to go above and beyond to why the judges. Something simple and effective, because it must not have been that hard to sew ties a certain direction because it is fabric. Um, and she's probably better off taking a more simple route, and it showed. Following Electra was Anita Wiglet in this kind of burning book look. It was very witch-like, I thought, the way she presented it. Um, took also as well like VHS tape wires and had it going up as if books were burning. I really enjoyed this. I don't know why the judges didn't. I really thought this was strong.
Yeah, I fully agree. I really, really like this look. I didn't think it was going to win, but I definitely did not think it was going to be in the bottom. Like, I was really shocked to see her in the bottom because I just thought this look was so nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely not. I think this was also should have been safe. I think especially in comparison to some of the things we've seen before, like I mean, like her close sister Keita means, I think hers is nicer.
Oh, by far. I just think it was the way something is sold. But there is a greater point on production to be made. But what we do is we discuss that after the next two or the next last person, just so we can have like a full rounded out opinion. Following it was Scarlett in this gingham play suit with like a basket picnic type scenario in red and white. I didn't enjoy this. Like I know it was a design challenge, so I can't really give out too much because you work with what you're given. I just found it very plain.
I think this is one of the cutest things I've ever seen. Like it's in cute, like it's actually adorable.
Yeah,
I really like this actually, to be honest. It was definitely my favorite look of the night. I agree with her winning this challenge in my opinion, because I do think it is really nice and it fit her so well. And obviously she'd obviously made it herself, so she knows her body and she can sew really well. The basket I thought was a really cute idea as well. It really gave me the story that matched with the actual colors of the garment, as well as everything she brought with all the grapes and the flowers in her hair and stuff. I just was like really impressed.
yeah. Like I do know it was well constructed. I think the win. What is she might win or no, but I can see why they made this the winner of the challenge. I think it's more personal taste. I didn't personally enjoy it. Um, but yeah, basically the people who end up in the bottom are Karen Finance and Anita, with Scarlett winning, which I found gas because the prize was a $2,500 gift card, but it didn't say to where, which is hilarious. But I don't understand the judges like picking the bottoms in this series because Anita's was strong and they really came hard for it, and even Etceteras was strong and they still came for that. So, like, if I were to do bottom two, I'd probably say Keita and Karen. It was always going to be Karen, but if we're going to go there, like, you could have said that it could have been Keita and Nita, or even Maxi.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think when you look at all of them together like this, Karen's is 100% like the worst because just looking at it compared to everybody else's, it's just constructed badly in comparison, and it also just doesn't look good either.
Yeah.
And then then when I'm looking down it and I'm kind of thinking, okay, what do I think looks the worst, disregarding Karen here? And I'm like, I think Keita, to be honest. It's it's just that ball bra. I just there's something about it that I just really don't like.
Yeah, I'm not entirely drawn to this season of Drag Race. Even though it's its first one, I think even UK's season one was stronger. There's something about being very detached to the season. I don't know what it is. Like I never care who wins. I never care who goes home after the episode. Um, it's just strange. And then like obviously Karen and Anita were in the bottom two. And as it's announced, Karen dabs, which I think is one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I live for that. I was like, yes, yes, do this. I actually saw the clip of that of her dabbing on YouTube before I'd watched the episode, and I'm like, for God's sake, I can't believe this is real.
It was just mind-blowingly funny. I think it's hilarious. Um, but basically the song is I Begin to Wonder by Danny Minogue, and this made me want to hammer my head off a wall. Why are we doing a Minogue lip sync 2 episodes after the Minogues were on?
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. I was very confused. I was like, eh.
Like this whole season does not make sense to me. It does not make sense of my fancy. There's something weird about it. I can't connect, and the choices they're making are weird. The timing of editing is weird.
The editing's definitely weird for me. I think some of the camera work's really kind of janky as well. There's something where in the first episode, I was very kind of bothered because there was a point where it looked like the camera was wobbling and it really bothered me.
Yeah, like even like the using of the sound effects of Drag Race, like the shade rattle and all that crack, they're mistimed and misused. So like I know that like Drag Race has become a format and everyone gives out about it, but when you're so used to a format and it deviates, you're like, oh, this isn't. This feels like a bootleg version of Drag Race.
I mean, I think these bitches are shady all the time. You can feel the tension in the air. Like they're just very shady towards each other. And it's like you'd be hearing that shade button all day if you actually had it at every single point they were being shady to each other
Yeah,
because it's constant.
yeah. And then like to bring it back into the lip sync, Karen wins and Nita goes home, but in all fairness, I don't think I would have cared who would have went home. That lip sync wasn't great. It was very, to me,
I did not enjoy that lip sync. Like, I'm really sorry, but I was like, it was one of those ones where you'd like hear about it and you're like, no, I'm going for a smoke break now. I don't need to see this, you know?
it was very lackluster. And like Karen was very stiff in it. I needed to try to move a little bit, but even that didn't work. Like, I think it would be a strong separation between good lip syncers and bad lip syncers. Like, I think if anyone went against Electra, they would have been gone so far. Maybe bar Scarlett and etc.
I
But
really want to see an Electra versus Scarlett lip sync. I think that would be a really good kind of story arcing moment.
it could be why the producers are really pushing this as a narrative because maybe it is building up to that. It's either building up to that or a resolution between them and then become best of friends. But
I
like,
don't see that being a resolution because when this episode aired, Electra was doing like an interview and she was dragging them. It was kind of hilarious.
that's a gag. Um, but like this season, I don't think it's going to be known for like no one's like a strong lip syncer of what I've seen so far. No one's a fashion queen. No one's really a makeup girl. Comedy, maybe because we haven't seen that yet, and Karen's obviously like a shoe in for comedy. I just don't think this season of Drag Race is adding anything to the franchise.
I mean, I think Art Simone's runways are actually quite impressive. This one was a little on the simple side, but the one she went home in, I thought that was a very, very good look though. Like I thought her little sea witch kind of moment was so good.
That means nothing.
True.
Iconic line, iconic line. Um,
At least we have that out of it.
yeah, but like this kind
That
of
was definitely an iconic exit.
yeah. I mean, I haven't really enjoyed the series of Down Under so far. I think this episode might be a turning point because even though I think there was some shocking choices made in the lip sync was terrible, I think this was one of the better episodes because there was like depth to it. There was relationships that we kind of know the queens now. Um, So I think this has been the best episode so far. And if the next week's episode is as good, I think it might hit an up streak. But I think it's on very precarious footing that it will either make or break the series in terms of a second season. What do you think of this?
I mean, I think what's really kind of holding the season up at the moment is the way the queens interact with each other, because their
Yeah,
performances in the challenges and on the runway are not spectacular. They're definitely not horrible, but like it's fine. But the way they interact with each other, I think especially in this episode, was really entertaining. I really, really enjoyed watching them in the workroom this
yeah.
week
I
because the
think
drama was really good and it wasn't just all that. We got the really good moment with Etc. as well.
I think the Down Under Queens are better as their own entities. I think the episode really shines in the talking heads and the workroom. I think it falls flat on the main stage and the lip syncs so far.
Yeah, I do have to say the lip syncs haven't really impressed me, especially when last episode where they're like, look at these lip sync assassins, and I'm like, they're not really lip sync assassins compared to some of the ones we've seen in the past on
Yeah,
different franchises. It's like,
they're really, really not. It's an interesting season, let's just say that. But to wrap it up, Atomica, where can everyone find you online?
so on Instagram that I've only started recently, I'm at Atomica.Athame, and I might make a Twitter soon. I mean, don't know, it depends if I'm feeling dramatic and want to start some shit.
And if anyone wants to go deep diving and dox them, they are also on a few Twitch streams. So if you can find them, great.
I mean,
But
on those streams, I'm pretty iconic. So
iconic behavior. Atomica, thank you so much for joining me. And I'm sure we will see you again.
thank you so much for having me. I had a really good time.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.